It was a pretty kinetic fight in Ramadi, and I came home and they told me I changed. I said, no, you changed. I'm the same that left here. Something's wrong with you. So I became cold-hearted and very cynical about anything. If someone says something's wrong with them, I said, you don't know what's wrong. You don't know what bad is like.
And welcome to Tales from the Shift. Rich LaMonica, how you doing today, sir?
Great, Shane. It's awesome to be here on Tales from the Shift. Thanks for having me.
I'm so glad to have you here. A true veteran of the U.S. Army, and you are a special episode. We already talked about it, obviously, prior to recording, but just so everybody knows, normally we do about a specific job, but today it's more of a specific employer. So we've never done this before, but I think it kind of fits well for having an Army career and getting into what all the intricacies of that and how it played out. So, and you have a podcast also. Let's just lead right off of that because you were telling me that it is about being a veteran. Why don't you tell us about it?
Oh, sure. That's an awesome opportunity. It's called the MisFitNation, the MisFitNation, one word MisFitNation. If you put Misfit and Nation, you're going to get a East Indian guy that does rap music. So just make it one word, MisFitNation. You'll find us. It's red, white, and blue. So it helps you out. But like I told you in the green room, we started this show as a platform for veterans to come on, tell their story, get that pressure off their chest so that they did not become part of the statistic you see on every billboard. Don't be part of the 22 or every nonprofit. Don't be one of the not 22. And we didn't think push-ups helped. We didn't think doing a ruck march would help. So we thought telling your story would help. Get that pressure off. They can breathe a little easier and stay with us. And like I told you, they called back and say, hey, brother, that's awesome, but we need more help, more mental health help, more holistic help, not drug help. Uh, how to get to Hollywood, how to get to music, how to write books. I said, okay, challenge accepted. And I just started bringing guests on. We just did our 600th episode a few weeks ago, and we're just rocking forward. We won Veteran Podcast of the Year last for 2025 as well.
Excellent. Excellent. Very cool. Very cool. I hope everybody checks it out. All right. So you're on here to tell us all about the Army. Why don't we start with basically, what did you do? What kind of job did you have? And what was it like being in the military?
Well, I joined the Army to be a chemical operations specialist. It was, I think in the Air Force, it's civil engineering. I think it's where it falls under you guys. For us, it's 74. It was 54 Bravo, and I joined 74 Delta. It changed over to meet up with the officer coding and such. But our job was to train soldiers to survive the modern air-land battlefield in the event of chemical operations, chemical warfare. And like if you go back to the first Gulf War with Saddam Hussein, everyone thought it was going to be straight chemical warfare, and the masks were on all the time, the MOPP suits, and even the beginning of the Gulf War when they started going in, you seen the MOPP suits. So our job is to train people to wear those and survive. As we transitioned, I never got to really do that job really because there wasn't a lot of that actually going on. So I have to work with a lot of awesome people in the engineers, armor units, infantry units, signal units. I got stationed on Air Force Base in Korea for a year. It was all diverse areas to learn different jobs and still do my own. So it was an awesome career to do it that way.
Very cool. Very, very cool. I'm just curious, in the suits, in the desert, how does that even work without people just passing out all the time?
You got to check your people. You got to check your people all the time and make sure they're drinking water and not just Rip Its or whatever energy drink of choice it is that day. I know Rip It was the Global War on Terrorism's official sponsor, and that purple was my favorite as well. I would drink it all the time, but you can't wear those suits and drink that stuff. You got to drink water.
They have a lot of sugar in that, in the Rip It, plus the caffeine. Yeah, right, right. All right. Cool. So how about yourself? Why did you join the Army in the first place?
Great question. And I tell people I had this idea from when I was a little kid. I'd sit with my dad watching the 13-inch black and white TV in the house, and we'd sit there, and I think it was either the end of Vietnam or maybe one of the conflicts in the Middle East with Israel. I still look at my dad, look, those guys are having fun in the Army. That's got to be a fun job. And he's like, what? Because he was in the Army as well. He was a tank guy in the Army from 58 to 62. And my grandfather was in the Army in World War II. And they both look at me like I was nuts because I thought it was just a fun thing. It looked awesome. I mean, I didn't think anything beyond what was on the TV. So I said, I'm going to be in the Army. And all the way up through high school, that was my goal. I'm going to go in the Army. But then when I was a junior, since my birthday was in November, I was going to sign up for the army, but I needed my dad's signature because I was too young. And my dad's like, "You're not going in the army. You're going to college." I said, "Well, we got a problem. I haven't taken one course through college." He's, "Well, figure it out." So my whole senior year, I took all those courses to get into college. I took the SAT and I got into college because I took that challenge and accepted it too. But I just didn't want to be in college. I went to business school first, and I transferred to St. Peter's College in New Jersey. Played college football for 2 years, and then finally said, "That's it. I'm going in the army now. You can't stop me." He was not happy, my dad, but happy at the same time that I followed his footsteps. He's extremely happy now that I had a whole career.
Interesting. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Where'd you go to college?
St. Peter's College in Jersey City, New Jersey,
And he played 2 years of football.
college football.
Right on, right on. All right, and I guess you saw that you were didn't look like the NFL was in the future for you there, so you said go.
We were horrible. We were 0-14 my 2 years here. Everybody's homecoming game.
So, was there any time when you were in the army in your entire career when you said, "You know what? I'm done. I'm gonna get out. I'm quitting." And, why did you think that, and what made you stay?
I never really had that thought in my head to quit. There was days where I was like, "Why are we doing this?" But those days were few and far between. I loved the army, and I tell people even on the day I retired and the general asked, "What are you gonna do now?" I said, "Now I gotta get a grown-up job." 'Cause I was a kid for 22 years. I got to play army for 22 years, and it was the best thing in the world for me to get out of the city, be in the army, and just have a great time.
So, keep going. What was great about it? I mean, you sounds like you're alluding to it, but tell us more.
I think, from the jump street, like, go to basic training, you get that rigor, you get that morale boost, people yelling at you, telling you what you have to do all day long. You know what you're doing every day, every minute of the day, usually in basic training, you know what you're gonna do, besides the random smoke sessions when you're getting dropped for no reason whatsoever, but there's things that you have to do every day to make it the end of the day. You get out of basic training, go to the tech school for you guys, AIT for us, and then you just go through it. You learn your job, and you go to your first unit. For me, I went to the 315th Infantry at Fort Stewart, Georgia. You go there, and I learned how to be a chemical operations specialist from a cavalry scout. That's who taught me there. He was holding the job because there was no one in my position there. So a cavalry scout was holding the job, and he's teaching me how to do my job from a cavalry scout's perspective. So I learned from him more cavalry scout stuff, so reconnaissance, and then had to figure out how to take care of equipment on my own. But all that stuff led me to be the leader I became as I went through that ladder in the army. And every day, people think it's tedious to do the same things every day. But if you're learning something new every day while you're in the service, it just goes by. So each day I would pick a new piece of equipment, learn it, play with it, try not to break it, go as hard as I can on the piece of equipment, and then put it back together. Same thing like you would do with your weapons. Take them, break them down, put them together, break them down, put them together until you can do it almost blindfold. You do your job, you do it well, and it just becomes so routine, so fun that when then you're not in garrison environment, you go to the field and you're muddy, you're miserable because it's raining or because it's always rains when you're. I don't care where you are, it's going to rain. Or in the desert, it'll be a sandstorm. It's just a version of rain. You go out there and you just do your job and you embrace it. And you see the stickers now say "embrace the suck." We never said those words, but we were embracing the suck. You just do it. You look to the dude to your right, the female, the lady to your left, and you just laugh at each other. This is awesome. We get to do this and get paid to do this. And they pay us to be fit. So for 22 years, I got to wake up early, do physical fitness, do my job, lead soldiers from most of my career. I got to lead people and then be successful in a mission each day. Each day you were able to count those successful things and get through life. And it was just a great time, great thing for me to do.
Nice, nice. So, if someone said, "Hey, I wanna go in, I wanna join the army," should this go to the recruiter? Is there a better way to do it, or is that pretty much just the move?
I think for if you want to join the military, or if you think you want to join the military, find someone who served, like yourself and me. Sit with them, pick the brains. What did like you just did to me? Ask me why I like the army so much. Ask you why you like the Air Force, why you joined the Air Force, why you went in the blue door and not the green door. There's reasons why people aim at those two things. and then see what they liked about it and did not like about it, and see if that aligns with what you want to be in life. Don't go in cold and let a recruiter sell you, because the recruiter has to get numbers. Then no matter what they say, they have to get numbers to keep their job and to get good ratings. So if you talk to people who had served already, go to a local VFW. There's old dudes and dudettes in there that'll talk to you forever. They will tell you all the bad you want to know, and they'll throw in some good. When you hit those little twinkles of good, oh, that old guy said this. Maybe I should go into cyber. But there's so many jobs now. There's so many tech jobs that soldiers, sailors, airmen, space cadets can do. There's so many things they can do now. Just talk to someone before you go in the recruiter's office, so you're armed and smart before you go in. And dude, I'm not going to tell someone not to join the military. You come to me, I'm going to sell you on what I know about it and what I see every day now. And I'll tell you the good that I've seen. I've seen the bad things that happen to people and how you could avoid them, and go straight from there and make your own decision.
Nice, nice. Now, when I went into the Air Force, it was really important for me to get a good score on the ASVAB in order to be able to get the job that I wanted, which was air traffic control. Is does that also apply to going in the Army in any way, taking that test, or how does that work?
Yeah, ASVAB is important for job placement, because the higher the score, the more opportunities. The lower the score is, it's like a pyramid, I guess you want to call it, but inverted. So in the bottom is your lower scores. As you go up, more jobs open, kind of like this. So at the bottom, you'll have your lower rated jobs or lower ASVAB score jobs. I'm not going to say they're dumb people. Some people just can't take tests. And a lot of people, I couldn't take tests, and somehow I passed the ASVAB. I still can't take tests. I can do things physically. I can't do things in writing. But if you gave me that test right now, I'd probably get less score than I did back then. I think back then, if you got a 110 or above, you're pretty golden to get any job you want. If you had 90 to 100, you're in a sweet spot, but you may not have got that job you wanted. Now for all those tech jobs, you want that 100 and above. You want to be in cyber warfare. You want to be in signal. You want to do anything that has to do with cyber or drones or anything. You got to have a high ASVAB score, and I think that's across all the services.
Okay. Yeah, and I think for anybody watching this, you need to understand that you can get the ASVAB test. Like, you can get it before you take it. You can literally go read the questions that are gonna be on there. I don't know if you can download it, but I know you can buy a book and just study that thing and learn what's on the test, and then go in and and smoke it. That's essentially what I did, basically.
Kind of like ASVAB for dummies or something like that.
Absolutely.
It's something like that. Yeah.
Yep. 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 For sure. Okay. Moving on. And so your career job, the chemical weapons one, did that ever change, or was that the only one that you had for the whole?
That was the only reading I had my whole career.
Okay.
Like I said, I didn't always do it because I was in positions where it didn't really focus on that. They focused on other areas. So I got a lot of other things, but that was always my rating was always 54 Bravo or 74 Delta.
Okay. All right. And then I know on your intake form here, you said that something happened on December 31st, 2010 that was important to you. Um, you want to talk about that?
But definitely, it's a moment that changed my life and a lot of people's lives forever. I'll go back to about September that same year. So September that year, I had PCS from Korea to Fort Campbell, and my unit was already in Afghanistan. So I was at rear D for a little bit, did some train up. I flew over, got there in September, and we were on a Fob Wilson in Kandahar. My first sergeant had me just walk around. He said, just walk around, look at things. I said, okay. So every day I just walk around, look at things, take notes. And then he asked me, all right, what'd you find? I showed him. I said, we need to do this to secure this. He's all right, good. That's your platoon right there. Go ahead, do it. I was what? So the same guys I was following every day wound up being my platoon. And it was a bunch of dudes and dudettes that came from all over the battalion that were maybe excess in their platoons or excess or maybe not as needed as someone else. So they threw them into this platoon and affectionately called themselves the Misfits, or the Isle of Misfit Toys. And as you see now, the name of my show is the MisFitNation. It comes from that. And we grew a bond by building that fob, being the quick reaction force, doing patrols every day into the local area to just meet people and they see what they're seeing from outside the fob to cut down on all our attacks. So every day we get up, we do PT, go on patrol, man the towers, build towers, do the afternoon patrol, work out in the afternoon, and then just crash out and do that on repeat until April the next year was our plan. Sergeant Michael Beckerman, a combat engineer, was in our platoon. He was one of my team leaders in the first squad, and he wanted to go back to the engineer company because that was his blood. Engineer, he wanted to be engineer, he wanted to be a sapper. And since through attrition, he needed him. They needed him bad, and so at end of November, beginning of December, he went over there to the Alpha Company, to BSTB, as a replacement, basically for some of the people that they had lost or got injured. December 31st, 2010, him and a lieutenant, where there was 4 compounds. 3 compounds were cleared for airstrikes. The compound they were targeting, were assigned to target, was not cleared for airstrikes, so they had to clear it by hand, by foot. They were about to enter, and him or the lieutenant activated a device, an IED, improvised explosive device for listeners, and it killed Michael instantly, Sergeant Beckerman, and the lieutenant became a triple amputee. Specialist Rice McMahon was right outside the door. He couldn't get to either one of them because there were so many IEDs between him and them. So for about, I think it was hours, about 6 hours, it took to clear all those IEDs to get them out safely. The lieutenant did live. Michael, of course, we lost him immediately. And that shaped our platoon, shaped me. It changed me as a leader. It changed my hard approach into a more, without knowing it, empathetic approach. And it made me a better person in light of that. That's a horrible way to turn into a better person, or a horrible thing to need to happen to become a better person. I might have already been a good person, but I wasn't acting like it, I guess, because I was just crazy in the head, third combat tour, and that happened. And the day I gave his eulogy was January, I think, 4th of 2011. I stood in front of the whole battalion and I gave that eulogy, and it was like an emotional release for me to let it out. But I made sure my whole platoon got the help they needed between that day and the day we flew in April to get home. Mental help, spiritual help, everything they needed. I took care of them and made sure that we all came home whole together. And when back to your first question about the show, when I was starting the show, I said, "Can I call it MisFitNation?" They was like, heck yes, let's do that." And in the studio, I still have a piece from that platoon, piece of a recoilless rifle that was shot at us and blew off on the wall. I have it on the wall in here in the studio in remembrance of that tour. It was a very bad tour. We lost about 165 people in our brigade, 102 or 3 in the division during that 10-11 time period in Afghanistan.
So, I'm curious what you said about the mental health thing. How did you I guess my thought was that if you were in the military and you went to anybody and said you had any mental health issues, that was not gonna be looked on very well by people above you. Right, so, how does that play out? How were you able to help people with that, or how does it work?
Well, in my first 2 tours, that thought process was 100% correct. This tour, there was I guess she was a psychological social worker, I guess, Captain Snow. She was on our fob, and once I knew she was there, I would rotate my dudes and dudettes over there. I said, "Look, go just talk. Even if you don't think something's wrong with you, go talk. I'll go with you because she has candy. So I'll go sit in the waiting room. I'll eat candy while you go in there and pour out your guts. If you don't want your squad leader, your team leader to take you, I'll take you, just so we're all whole by the time we get back." And each one of them went. And so I think I had 2 NCOs that did not go, and they've gone to help after. But them 2 and myself did not go get help ourselves. I did not get help until 2016 after I retired.
So, would you say it's more common now in the year 2025 that there's psychiatrists or psychologists that people can go to? And I would hope also anything they say is not going back to the US Army when you have these encounters?
100%. The whole health of the service member is priority now. So they build this for here. I work on Fort Campbell, so I get to see the soldiers every day. They do their physical training. They do mental work either through book work, or they go to these. They have conferences or professional development sessions where they talk about mindfulness. They talk about mindset, and then they do spiritual stuff. They get to go on retreats with the chaplain. It's all separate entities that equal to one thing: a complete soldier. And the Marines do the same thing. pretty sure the Air Force has always done it. To keep that complete airman, that complete Marine, that complete soldier, that complete sailor. And once we started realizing it's not a stigma to do this. It's actually a good thing to get your head checked and make sure you're doing the right things and make sure you're on that right glide path. So from 15 to now, it's a total flip of things that, well, actually from 10 till now, it's the gas pedal is pushed all the way down, and now all these services are 100% available to everybody. And then with the TBI clinics and stuff, from the last injuries to the head, that stuff is exponentially expanded to help people as well.
Wow. That's the most surprising thing in this conversation so far for me. I just would never assume that the Army or really any of the branches really actually gave a shit, and you were just kind of on your own. So actually that's pretty cool, impressive. All right. Um, so you mentioned that was the third tour of duty, but then I know you wrote on here that you had a fourth deployment. And you said you felt like you were testing fate. Is fourth deployment, is that unusual? How why were you
Yeah.
testing fate?
Most of my friends that I lost in combat were on their third or fourth deployment. Most people I knew who died was the third or fourth deployment. And I'd made it through my third one. I lost my first soldier on my third one, Sergeant Beckerman. And then now here I go for my fourth one. And I'm like, I went in as negative Nancy. I said, I'm not coming home. So good luck, everybody. I'm going to go out. I'm going to go out in a blaze of glory. I'm going to go out there. I'm going to fight. I'm going to do what I have to do to win. And my one soldier, Sergeant Chantel Cummings, she said, Sergeant, that's not you. Stop talking like that. Get your head out of your ass. Whatever, whatever. And then I got on Fob Wills, not Fob Wills, Cop Fortress in Kunar. And we were there, I think, 2 days, went on patrol. We were in Dewagal Valley, got an ambush out there. We rode back, and the Taliban just followed us back along the mountain behind us. As soon as we parked, they started launching mortars at us. They launched their first volley. Apaches came in and gave us support, so they just hid the mortar. We took care of the first batch of wounded. I got back to the team room. We were talking to each other, to make sure everyone's okay, make sure we knew what to do next time. Apaches called off station. They flew out, and then my medic said, "Hey, so I want to talk to you. It's my first time I got to help someone in combat. It's awesome. Let's step outside." We stepped outside. He told me what he did. I said, "I'm proud of you, man." I just tapped him on the shoulder, slapped him on the shoulder, and boom, behind me, another mortar hit. It went through the back of my left leg, out the front of it. And he had a nice tan on him, and he became pretty pale when he looked down at my leg. Goes, "What's wrong, man?" He said, "You're hit." I said, "No, I'm not," because I couldn't feel it. The adrenaline was just pumping from the blast. I turned around, I seen there was a civilian contractor behind me, and I said, "Look, help him. I'll take care of this." I took my tourniquet out, put it on, ran inside, and my officers were all in there. Uh, Captain Rhodes was in there, Lieutenant Lord, Lieutenant Miller. They were all in there, and they just went to work on me. They cleaned it off, put a dressing on it. I just I just went about like nothing was wrong with me because it was just that adrenaline pump. I started looking on the cameras to see if I could see where the mortar guys were, and we just stayed in action until the medevac can come. And I stood there getting everyone else on the bird that was injured, and the SF medic walked up to me and said, "Hey, Sergeant, so what's up?" He said, "You know what gangrene is?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Do you want it?" I said, "No." He said, "Get on the damn bird." Oh, all right. Got to put it like that. So I handed my long rifle to my boss, and I ran to the bird and wound up in surgery. 32 hours later, I was back on the cop because I refused to get evacuated. And that woke me out of that funk of the fate testing fate right there. I went straight forward from that point forward. That was that getting hit with that. I could just keep hearing Chantel coming in my head. "Get your head out of your ass, Art." And bam, I was right back in the game and made it through the rest of that deployment. Hindsight 2020, I probably should have got evacuated, knowing the pain I'm in now in my leg, but uh, I was good then, though.
Yeah, it's almost like you had that Lieutenant Dan fate sort of thought process, like, well, I'm fated to do this. This is go, right?
What makes it you? My daddy died, my uncle died.
Right. So ultimately, so your leg, how bad was it? What was done to it?
So an 82 millimeter mortar hit about 50 meters behind me. So the shrapnel came from that direction through me. Nothing hit my medic, thank God. Everything hit me, hit my leg, and then hit the wall next to me. It was through and through, missed all my ligaments somehow. And they just went in, they cleaned out the parts that they can find in there. They were still in there, did the surgery. they put me in a transient tent after surgery. So I was in there with a bunch of, I think they were Kazakhstani fighters that were in country, and it smelled horrible. I was like, man, why is it so bad in here? And then they came the next morning, "Hey, we missed a piece. We gotta go back." I said, "You're not going back in. You had your chance." I said, I made a deal with myself. I'd never let the Army operate on me. You had your chance. That was it." And I went right back and started asking for flights back to my cop, and went at it, and it was about a month before I can actually go on patrol without, being a hindrance to my unit, and then able to do it after that.
Yeah. And so I want to clarify a couple things. So when you say go back to your cob, is cob?
Combat outpost.
Okay, thanks. I didn't know what that acronym meant. I'm sorry. Okay. So back to your combat outpost, the COP. Okay. And then so was that the worst injury that you got during your career?
Yeah, and,
Okay.
definitely the worst. Yeah.
And so does the army give you a disability percentage? Um
Ironically, that only I think I got 10% for that.
10. I feel like I know people with way higher percentages, way less injury.
Yes, yes. But I got higher ratings for other parts of my body that were just beat up after 22 years, so
Okay.
it all equaled out in the end, so it really
Okay.
that's 10 it was a kick in the junk, but it didn't hurt that bad.
Oh wow. All right. All right, interesting. Any other times in combat besides that where you got your messed up
That's a
quarters?
that's a my last 2 were both Afghanistan. My first one, I was in Kuwait when 9/11 happened, so we went from basically a speed bump to the tip of the spear overnight or within minutes. So we went from just having a easy rotation to Kuwait to all of a sudden, "Hey, our country's at war. This is what you're gonna do." We went home and they sent us to the desert to train in California because weren't just in the desert. That's what the army does. And we trained in the desert and we went to Korea for a month and then we came back and got told we're going to Iraq to be in the fight in Ramadi. So 2003 to 2004, I got there in August of 2003, left in September of 2004, Ramadi, Iraq.
Let's talk about pay. So, once you cover basically what compensation was like, roughly how much you made the beginning, the end, and also I would say being military includes other benefits too, such as housing and such. So maybe can you just give us a little outline on those things?
I think when I first came in, you got enough to live, barely. I was a single guy when I came in. I was a specialist, so E4. I don't think I was making $1,000 a month, or if I was, I don't remember seeing it. So it was either when when you're a specialist or E4, you're part of that E4 mafia. You you go to work, go to DFAC, then you drink on the weekends. Yeah, it's a never ending cycle. And then I got married. I met my wife. I went active September '93. Met my wife December '93. We got married May of '94. So I was only single in the army for less than a year. And even getting married, you get that compensation for housing, BH. Back there, I think it was called BH back then, BH and BAS. Basically, basic allowance for housing, basic allowance for sustenance, and you get paid for food and housing. And I think that was maybe 600, $400 a month for one or whatever. It covered the rent in that area. And the BH was based on the area you're in and your rank, your pay grade, and that was everywhere you were. And it was enough to get by, but my wife still had to work, and we were still eating bologna sandwiches to live. And I got sent to Korea. Halfway through Korea, she got pregnant on my mid tour. I came home and made a mid tour Korea baby. Had the baby, and you don't get more money for the kid. You still get the same BAH or BAS. So we wound up. We were getting the WIC. We got the WIC at Fort Campbell. So the eggs, the milk, and stuff like that. So you're just not making enough money to pay for a whole family. So we stayed in housing to get by, and the money wasn't the reason why I joined. I knew that wasn't going to be the thing. And the stability was the reason to stay in with a family because now you have free healthcare, dental, health, and then of course housing. You get all the staples, the things of life that you need to get by. That's what helps you get through. I mean, now once President George Bush came in, we got our first raise in forever. So I was in from '93 until he came in. I didn't get a raise a good raise besides like the 1% annual raise until GW came in. GW came in, we got a real raise, and he maintained that through his time. President Obama kind of just leveled it off. Uh, I was out by the time Trump came in, so I don't know what he did. I can see the soldiers are driving a lot better cars than I did. They might be in debt, but they do have a lot better cars than I did.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then also to help, save money, did Army bases also have, I know in the Air Force we had, like, a cheap grocery store, for instance, did you have stuff like that?
Yeah, we had the commissary, so tax free, and then a tax free kind of like our version of Walmart, the PX or BX on the Air Force. It's it's usually priced about the same as the outside market at Walmart or whatever the local department store is there. It's usually pretty equal to it. And if you find something cheaper off, they usually match it. And I think they still do that now. So it's good tax free shopping. Gas prices on base are usually the the median of the top three prices outside the gate. So if the top three prices outside the gate are like 254, 55, 56, this would be 255 on post. So that's still today. Today it's 255, I think, right now on Fort Campbell.
Alright, and I don't know if anybody watching this knows that I just learned this recently, that even if you're no longer in the military, you can shop from, I know, for, like, the BX or whatever they're calling it online. Maybe you know the website, but you can still get these
A-
discounts. What's that?
I think it's AFES.com, I
Yeah.
believe.
Yeah, afees.com. You can all you gotta do is be a veteran, and you can still keep shopping there, so that's pretty cool.
Now I think Home Depot actually has products in the PX now.
Yes, yes, and also Home Depot always has a 10% discount for,
Yeah.
veterans, so make sure you get that too. It's a great deal. Alright. Hey, quick time out. I just want to say that if you'd like to come on the show, email me at talesfromtheshiftpodcast@gmail.com. We'll talk about your shift. Let's talk about work-life balance. What kind of hours did you have to work? When you're I guess when you're at home versus away or probably varies a lot?
It does vary a lot, and it depends on what kind of unit you're in. Out tempo matters a lot. So when I was with the infantry here at Fort Campbell, I can go to work at 6:30 or 6 o'clock in the morning, do PT at 6:30, and then someone gets a wild hair up their butt and say, "Hey, we're gonna go on the field today. We'll come back in 30 days." Oh, okay. So you're gone for 30 days.
Were
That
there
was and that's it was a different time.
hold on hold on a second. You're talking about at home that they could do this? So, give me an example of, what city we're talking about, or where were you stationed?
This is at Fort Campbell, Kentucky from 96 to 99.
Okay. So you could theoretically go to work in Fort Campbell, Kentucky at 6 o'clock in the morning, and some dude says, "You're not going home for 30 days?"
We're going to the field. Hope your bag's packed. Good. We had go boxes in front of our cages and stuff. So yeah, had your rucks. There was always packed. So you just and then we didn't have cell phones, so you had to get to that one phone in the office. Hey, I'll see you in 30 days. Good luck.
Goodness, that's rough. That's rough. I mean, I can't imagine, like, if, let's say you got kids and now you got a whole thing you gotta work out, right? You gotta deal with the kid, with your wife or what have luck. My goodness. That's
Love you. Yeah, yeah. That was life back then. It changed a lot though. It changed a lot now where they try to keep soldiers out of the field on the weekends unless they have to keep them out there, where they rotate them in and out so they get showers, they can change their clothes and such. So they do a lot better of the balance now based on the lessons learned. So each generation has lessons they learn. And like for our generation, we can thank everyone that was in Vietnam for their fights that they kid when they came out. Just sharing their stories of what happens to them in basic through service and then what happened after service with being pushed away from the VA and stuff like that. They have helped us exponentially. Now, our generation, we learned from them. And like when I came in, there were still some of them old hats from Vietnam in that their 18th, 19th year when I came in. So you still getting some of the fight in their heads and stuff and think that's how you gotta do things, only way to do things. And we'd rock forward just learning that way. So I learned a hard head mentality at first. And then as times changed, so did leadership change. And those kind of balance, the life of work life balance became more important. Knowing, like I said earlier, about the total soldier, the total airman, the total Marine, if you have a fully capable combat ready person, and that involves all that stuff, house, spirit, finance, all that, you have a better warrior. They're not worried about what's going on at home when they got to go to war because they know you took care of them when you were home. When you go to war, you're going to take care of them too. And that's very important as we move forward through Kuwait for 20 years. 20 years in Afghanistan and Iraq taught us a lot of lessons about what not to do and what to do. And I think now, the way things that we're operating now are even better now than they were back then.
Okay, how about interaction with your peers? How is it like with your, I guess we call them coworkers? What was it like with your coworkers? Any toxic stuff? Any camaraderie? How'd all that work?
There was always just like just think of the military as a locker room, a giant locker room. And if you were in any sporting team, the military is like one giant locker room. And you go in, you're going to have the people that you really melt with, and then you have people you butt heads with. So every day there's that teetering balance that you're gonna tick somebody off someday, and it could be someone that's the same rank as you, someone that's higher rank than you, someone that's lower than you. You're gonna tick them off. You got to know how to balance it and not do that every day to that same person. And there's people I knew I can joke with and get away with it, and there's people that knew they can joke with me and get away with it. But then there's people you knew you had to walk on eggshells with because if you said something to them, they might just flip out. There's no two humans are the same and no two service members are the same. So that balance in every different unit is different. So you can go into one unit where everyone is just all day long, just like a football team's locker room. Then you go to another unit and you're almost in a pool of cubicles where you can't say a word because people get offended by everything you say. So you just got to be very careful where you are and know your environment, know your people, know who's around you, know what their strengths are, know what their weaknesses are, and know how you can get along with everybody. There's a way to get along with everyone without throwing knives at each other.
How about you have an inside, you have a joke for us, an inside joke that a soldier might tell another soldier in the army or something they might say.
There's things that are done to young soldiers when they come in. They'll get told to go find us a box of grid squares,
A box
and
of
that
what?
young soldier grid squares.
Grid squares. All right.
So they'll go out and they'll try to find this box of grid squares, and they'll go out all day looking for it to come back, and the sergeant will say, "Where's my box of grid squares? I couldn't find it, sergeant." And one day I was in a unit, and they told this young, I think it was PFC, "Hey, PFC, we'll call him Smith, go get me a box of grid squares." He went to an NCO, another NCO. So my sergeant wants me to get a box of grid squares. He said, "I got an idea for you. Here, cut this map up." So he cut the map up and put it in a box and gave it back to his NCO. And he did this in front of the first sergeant. The first sergeant was like, "What is that?" He said, "Got me the box of grid squares, first sergeant." I said, "Good. Now you put it back together." And that was the last time I've seen someone have to get a box of grid squares.
All right. Um, what about slang terms? Any type of slang terms that you might say in the army to each other?
To each other, there's a lot you can't say on here, but there's a lot of things you have to look up on TikTok and find out for that. There's a lot people get called a lot of things in the military. Dumpster, dumpster fire is a good one. Someone that says always messed up every day. Pig pen, always dirty. I had a couple pig pens in my career, and usually they're the hardest working soldiers. They don't clean up, and you get that every once in a while. But you always know the ones that are going to work their tails off, and they usually smell pretty bad too.
I wonder what the other slang terms you're not going to say in here. I'm gonna have to go on TikTok now. I'm assuming you mean there's a lot of profanities based ones.
But that was just yeah,
Okay,
yes.
yeah. I would hope everybody understands watching this that if you don't know how to swear, you're gonna learn, and or you at least better be comfortable with hearing it because it's that's how the military rolls.
You can use the F bomb as a noun, verb, adjective, pronoun. It's all the same.
Yeah, yeah. I think I read once there's something like 20 different versions of the F word. Yes, that and
Yes.
how it can be used in a sentence properly. Anyway,
Yes.
how about the Army's point system and promotion boards? How does points and promotions work to go from one rank to the next rank? How does that work?
All right. So to get promoted from specialist E4 or corporal E4 to sergeant E5, or from sergeant to E5 to staff sergeant E6 in the Army, you have to go to a local promotion board, which is usually the first sergeants of all the companies that are around you, and then the sergeant major of the battalion is usually the president of the board. And to get there, your leadership has had to see something in you, to see that promise in you, to say, hey, this this soldier has everything I see right now, the potential to be great at the next level. So you go to that board. Usually, most units will make you go to a soldier of the month board just to get a rep in, to get some practice. So you go in there just to go in front of the board and answer questions because you're going to be scared. If you go in there for the first time just to the promotion board, it's like getting 9,000 lasers at you from one of these four first sergeants and then a sergeant major, and you're a specialist. You're just sitting there sweating and just wondering what they're going to do next to you. So if you go to that soldier of the month board, you get that kind of ease and understand the questioning and how it kind of flows and what you're going to do when you go to the promotion board. Same thing with staff sergeant. By the time you go to staff sergeant board, you should have been at least through 3 boards by that point: a soldier of the month board, a sergeant board, and maybe an NCO of the month board, and then go to that promotion board. But the board can give you the yes or no to get promoted now. I think in the past it was like 50 points or whatever for the board. And each MOS, based on the needs of the Army, has points based on how many E5s they need in that MOS. So currently, there's some jobs right now where you need the max amount of points. Like when I was in to make staff sergeant, I needed 798 points to get promoted. And that's the max. So 800 was the max at the time. And in order for me to get that, I had to have max PT. So max all my events in PT to get 50 points. Max all my everything in weapons to get 50 points. Do all the schools I can possibly do to get points. Awards give you points. And I would think I was 5 points short to be able to turn in new points, because you had to have a magic number to turn in points to advance. I was in Kuwait. My battalion was in Saudi Arabia in 98. And I needed a certificate of achievement basically to give me 5 more points so I can turn in enough points to get promoted for staff sergeant. My battalion commander flew up and gave me a certificate of achievement to give me that 5 points so I can turn it in and get promoted to get over the hump of 798. And I didn't make the points until we rotated home and we were in a formation, and I was standing up in front of the battalion and he was late. All I see in the corner of my eye was a pickup truck drive. I seen him pop out, the truck kind of rolls to a stop, taps on a tree. He comes running over and just impales me with my rack. Straight punch. Ah. He said, I wasn't going to miss this for the world. Congratulations. Yeah, that's great. I can't move my arm, no. Awesome, sir. Thank you. And it was just a thing that you knew what everything you had to do, correspondence courses. If you had college, that really helps out a lot to get points. Uh, Correspondence courses are just basically online courses now, or back then you just filled out little things in a book and now they didn't get the points, a certificate. And then anything courses you can take in the military give you points to professional development courses. And all those points come together to get to that magic number or whatever it is each month. I think the lowest is could be is 300 something, and then the highest is 800 now as well.
Yeah, cool. So, so you're saying he came up and hit you in the arm?
The rank was in the shoulder at that time, so the rank was on my collar. He
Okay,
came and popped me right in the collarbone, and that was it. I seen stars, and I heard him saying congratulations.
okay. So was it a pin that he was putting on you?
Oh yeah,
Okay,
pin on the rank.
okay. Yeah, when I got certified as a controller in the Air Force, we had a badge. It was like it's like a little control tower, whatever. And so the pin, and so you put on there, and your sergeant would come up, and yeah, he punched my chest and definitely impaled it all the way into my. Yeah, I don't know if I wonder if they still do that. You think they still do it?
Not allegedly.
Allowed.
Oh,
Okay.
easy.
Yeah, right. Yeah, but it does make you feel like you've arrived, or you know,
Part of the team.
right, right, right on. Okay, can you tell us any type of way that this career has made you perhaps harder or more cynical?
It made me a hard head, I guess, a hard head and cold hearted. As my wife and daughter would tell you, I'm cold hearted, and that it's more from being in war. 4 times in war will do that to you. 1 time in war will do that to you. And when I came home in 2004 after Ramadi was a very kinetic a fight. The whole year there, we were very kinetic. Lost, I think, 35 in our brigade, plus 30 Marines, so 65 total. And it was a pretty kinetic fight in Ramadi. And I came home and they told me I changed. I said, "No, you changed. I'm the same. I'm the same after that left here. Something's wrong with you." That was 2004. and I didn't want to admit it then. I didn't admit it in 2010, 11 when I came home. When I went to war, I didn't admit it. When I came home in 2011, I asked for help and was told, "I'm a sergeant first class. I don't need help. Go back to work." So I went back to work and went back to war again in 2012. And it wasn't until 2016, like I told you earlier, I went to see Dr. King Counts, a civilian, that said, "Hey, you compartmentalize so many things that you don't let yourself get hurt by compartmentalizing and just cutting people off." So I became cold hearted and very cynical about anything. If someone says something's wrong with them, I said, "You don't know what's wrong. You know something's wrong. You don't know what bad is like. Go try living here." And I would never think of their perspective of what they're going through in life. Everyone has a different perspective in life. And now I'm a whole person now because I've treated myself in order to be able to help others.
Yeah. So would you say you have PTSD or had it from
I
service?
definitely had it. It's still in there. I just know how to manage it now.
Yeah. Would you say would you say it's pretty impossible to go through the military, a career, and not end up with some form of PTSD?
Some form of trauma. You'll probably have some kind of trauma from the military, especially if you make it 20 years, you're going to have to have seen something or
Yeah.
had lost somebody, whether in training or maybe they got something happened to them on the way home on leave. You lose a lot of people just in stateside in accidents. It doesn't matter what branch you're in, you're gonna lose somebody, you're gonna see something that's horrific, and it stays with you. I don't care who you are. And then a lot of our brothers and sisters, they come in and they went through childhood stuff that they don't think was bad, but it sits in your head. It could be maybe an abusive dad, or maybe something that happened in their neighborhood that they seen that he never understood why it bothered them, but it did bother them, and it stayed with them their whole lives. And that childhood trauma can just get made nuts while you're in the military because you're going through all these other things in the military, then throw war on top of that. Now you're being told that dude over there hates you. He's going to shoot at you. You got to kill him. And you're thinking, and demons in your head saying, "I seen that kid get killed when I was on the streets of LA. Now I got to kill this kid. I didn't like seeing that. Now I have to do it or I'm going to die."
Yeah.
And that's a trauma that's in your head. And it could be a moral injury. It could just be the traumatic injury. But both combined that's why we lose a lot of people. The moral injury is probably worse than the PTS.
Yeah. And you made me think of when you said the coming in with childhood trauma. I think that I'd say probably the most of the people that end up joining the military enlisted probably don't come from a lot of money. A lot of people come from being are poor, and it's a way out of being poor for sure. But I think being poor, as I experienced it many times, is a form of trauma on itself. Just coming in, how did you survive your childhood? Did you always have enough food? Were people always there for you? And then you go into the army because it is a good move when you come from nothing. I can see bringing that baggage in with you for sure.
Just think of like I think Southside Chicago, where there's poverty level's pretty high there, and think of how many kids there don't have a mom and a dad. You either have one or the other. So they come from that single parent household. That single parent is working their ass off to try to get them out of there, or try to get them a better life. And their only way out is through the military. Hopefully, well, that's the best way out. And they get out that way, and then they see something new, and that's in their head. How did we make it through that? That we were basically sharing a piece of bread sandwich to get through life, and now we're able to eat this awesome DFAC food.
Yep. Yep. 100%. Okay. Um, so let's suppose someone they do their time in the army. Maybe they don't do the whole 20 years, but they spend their time in the army. What are some civilian jobs that you think someone could set themselves up for by that the army would help them to get to?
It depends on what you wanna do or what your job is in the military. So, like for me, chemical operations, you can wind up on any hazmat team in the country, any hazmat fire department team, or you can go to SWAT teams. They have hazmat teams as well across the country if that's what you wanna do when you get out. Or you can go to FBI, the forensic side, so you can do, like, the forensic checking, chemical stuff. But you have to want to do that. Um, it's not every time you have a job like after you join the Air Force knowing that you want to be air traffic controller and get to the FAA after. That's a perfect route. That's the perfect storm. You did everything the right way to get to that point. Some people join the infantry but then want to be a finance and accounting person. And then they don't realize the stuff they have to do to get to part B. They think just join the military will get you your foot in the door. It won't. It might get you an internship, which they do now with the career skills program. So like the last 120 days of your enlistment, they'll let you go intern at a place where you think you want to. So if you want to be a finance person, you'll find a local finance company or an accounting firm, and you can intern there while still getting paid by the military and see if it's really the fit you want. And that's an awesome program now. And that's part of the Soldier for Life program, TAP program, to help you find out who you really are, who you want to be, that purpose. For most service members, when they get out, they lack that purpose. So if you know what your purpose is and where you want to be, when you take those boots off and change into sneakers or Carhartt boots or whatever kind of boots you want to wear next, know what you want to do months before, a year before you want to get out. You can start making those calls, those cold calls. Get on LinkedIn. So find someone in that career field on LinkedIn and do some non-contact interviews with them. Say, hey, tell me about your job. Would that be a good fit for me coming out of, say, the Marine Corps? Oh, yeah, you could do that. And they're freely going to talk to you because there's no pressure on them. They're not in the hiring process. Once you fill out that application, it becomes, oh, now we got to really ridicule this person, or we have to really dig deeper into it. So think about that. Think about what your purpose wants to be in life. What do you want to do? And like for me growing up, everyone always wanted everyone to be in business. When I was younger, business or accounting is the best way to be for most people. And then a lot of people want to become teachers. Like I told you earlier, I wanted to be in the Army. But I took business courses because I thought that's what everyone did. I hated it. I hated business courses. Even when I started college back again in the Army, I started taking business courses because I still thought that was the way to go. And then I started taking Homeland Security courses. Like, that's much better. Homeland Security, emergency management is where I should be. That's my purpose. And that's why I wound up getting my bachelor's and my master's in that. I got my bachelor's right 5 months before I retired, and then I got my master's about a year and a half later. But I kept that going, kept that purpose going because I really enjoyed that side of it. Didn't think I wanted to, after 20 years of doing things with suits, I didn't think I wanted to be in hazmat anymore. But I can orchestrate it from somewhere else and do that purposefully. So if you know what your purpose is and know what you want to be and you figure it out, so I understand as an 18-year-old going into service, you may not have everything figured out. I got you. Either did I. Either did Shane. Well, Shane did, obviously. I did not. And when you figure out what you want to be in when you grow up, go after it. Take the courses that will get you there. The military will pay for it. Tuition assistance, GI Bill. Use every available asset that you have. Go for it. Find that purpose and find someone you can get a mentor. Get them mentor you and go seek success.
Yeah. Yeah, when we were talking about compensation, I think we kind of left that off the table. The GI Bill, right? So important. I mean, if you're going in the military, uh, you take the GI Bill. I know it's an option. You sure you want to? Yes, you want the GI Bill. It's one of the greatest things you can get when you're in the military. So little money down gives you so much later. So that can set you up for the college later. I know that in the Air Force they had the community college of the Air Force. I think it's called something else now, but there you go. You can take courses while you're in the military for, I think it was extremely cheap. I don't even remember what it cost.
You just run on base too. So
Right, and it's on base, super easy, super convenient. Um, for me in Illinois, I don't know how many if other states have this also, but if you go in from this state and if you started here and then you come back to here after you leave the military, your college is completely paid for. You don't even need the GI Bill. Like
wow.
I could go to I could right now I could go to college for 4 years for free if I wanted to. Paid for by the state of Illinois. I can't think of a reason I need to go to college at this point, but if I feel bad, I feel like I wish I could give it to one of my kids, here, just have some here's a free 4 years. But um anyway, when I went in, I did we talked about the ASVAB before, and I knew I wanted to do air traffic control, and I think maybe the recruiter sort of gave me a clue because I said I'd like to do that. And I think he said, well, you better get a really good score on that ASVAB. So I went back and studied it, got a good score because I studied it. So if you can know basically what you'd like to do before you go in, then try to get that job in the military, right? Whatever, what you really want to do air traffic, or you really want to, yeah, there's thousands upon thousands of jobs. You want to be an electrician, fine, be an electrician. Okay, go do that. And the military will teach you all of those things, and then you can leave, go in the civilian world, and just keep going.
Definitely. And like if your family's a background in mechanics, your dad owns a shop back home or whatever, and you always worked in a shop, become a mechanic in the military. Let them give you all the certifications you can possibly get for free. Then go back to dad's shop. Now you're a certified mechanic
Yep.
without anyone asking questions.
Yep.
You got it.
Yep. Yeah, and a veteran. And then also you have a pension. How is the pension calculated in the military? What's the least amount of years that you could be in to receive some sort of pension, and then how does that go up from there?
Now I'm not sure. I think they were toying with 15 years now. I'm not sure if they actually went to that, but for me it was 20. I stayed 22 because I took a bonus early on and I had to make some of that up to get back to 50%. So I did an extra 2 years, 22 years to get to 50%. And I think the highest you can get is 75% of your base pay. And that's mostly like sergeant majors, colonels, generals, and they all stay over 30 or plus, but they only get, I think 75% is 30-year mark anyway. So they stop basically calculating at that point, just collecting the money at that point. And but for me, it's 50% at 22 years, and I think this month we got $100 raise, I think, for this year or something per month. So my wife tells me, I really don't know. She tells me what I'm making. I let her do it and just tell me if anything's wrong. I'll make calls, but I have no idea if it's right or wrong right now. But she
Yeah.
told me we got a raise.
So 50% at 20 years, you said? And then how does it go up from there? Is it like 1% per year or 2% per year after that or something?
I think it's like 2 point something percent per year or something like that.
Okay. Yeah, very cool. All right, and I just want people to understand how important a pension is these days. I mean, you they're dying, and they're so very useful that you're gonna be paid the rest of your life, and it's usually adjusted for inflation to some extent, right?
It's a cost of living allowance every year.
Right, right.
At when I was, I think like 10-year mark or 11-year mark, I had a retiree guy tell me, he said, "Go for stay until 20. It's a guaranteed check for life. Guaranteed check for life." That's all he kept telling me every day. All right, I'll take it. So I got that, and of course, disability on top of that. Plus, I work, so everything's good right now. And having those two guarantees there really ease the mind for everything else that goes on in the world. So I know those two are coming every month, even with the government shutdown. Those two are still coming every month.
Yeah, excellent. All right, let's change gears a little bit here. What type of person would you say is not the kind of you shouldn't go in the army? You're not the right person for the army. Don't bother. Is there a personality for that?
I'm sure there is someone that is always has to be right. Doesn't need to be in the military. A hard headed, easy. I have to be right all the time person, or someone that likes to be the antagonist. The military isn't for you because you're gonna burn out quick, and your peers will burn you out. They'll put you out. They'll get rid of you because your peers are a lot stronger than you think they are, especially when they combine. They may think you're bigger and tougher than them, but being the high school star quarterback in football doesn't equate to anything in the military. You might have been a high school football star when you get in the military. You're just Joe or Josephine. You got to do what you got to do to make it through, and that that captain on the football team means nothing. And I've seen it happen many times to young men that thought they were badasses in high school would come into a unit with that attitude and get basically knocked down a few levels until they realized how to either fit in or get out.
Right. And so this leads into my other question of, let's say someone has already made it through their basic training. What would you tell them if they're going to be in the army? Definitely do or definitely don't do this. What might you recommend?
Definitely don't waste money. Save your money. Don't follow the trends of people buying things. Don't buy cars because everyone else in the barracks has a car. If everyone else in the barracks has a car, you don't need one. You can give them $5 for gas, $10 for gas, and go someplace. Because they're all going to the same place. You don't need one until you need one. Until you find that that the love of your life that you have to drive to, then you maybe find one that has a car and, and then just chip in gas money. Save your money. Put money away. Put it into an account that you can't touch. That way, that's building as your nest egg is building towards that pension. If you're staying to 20, you have two nest eggs growing. And as you grow, just figure things out to invest in that work for you. Maybe it's real estate. Buy a buy a home off a base that you can rent out if you get PCS. Get that income coming in, get that residual income going. Take, like we talked about earlier, take every education benefit you could possibly take. If they say, hey, who wants to go to class? Raise that hand. I know people will tell you not to volunteer. Volunteer for classes. Take every class possible. Become the smartest person in the room. Then you become the person everyone goes to for help because you are that smartest person in the room.
And what about, definitely don't do? Anything you'd advise?
On the flip side, don't go get that 32% interest car loan because you're chasing someone's tail to try to find somebody. A lot of soldiers get in debt as soon as they get to their first unit because they see everyone else driving these things or doing things. Don't follow the traps. Just sit back and watch. See who's struggling, who's not struggling. The people who are not struggling, try to hang around them. Try to find people that are doing good and be with them. If you hang out with bad crowds, whether in military, civilian world, you're gonna wind up just like them in that bad crowd. Just try to find the people that are doing the right things that are within your values in your heart, and then you'll find success. Try not to fall into traps in the military. There's tons of them out there. Hey, I bet you can't jump off this wall, off this building, and not get hurt. And you do, and then you're out the military because you thought you'd win a bet. It's a don't do dumb stuff.
Yeah. Um, what about transfers and getting sent to Iraq or whatever? How does that work? You're chilling out. You're in Kentucky. You know, does all of a sudden they just say, "Hey, now you're going to this place," or do they say, "Hey, who would like to go to this?" How does all that work?
Well, for the active army, it's usually by unit. If, like I know the Air Force, Air Force like fills billets by billet. So if they need X amount of civil engineers, they'll find them around the world. Say, hey, who wants to deploy and fill a unit and do it that way. But the army, it's by a unit. So if the 101st Airborne Division gets a call from the Pentagon saying, hey, we need you here at this time, the whole unit's going. Everyone that's capable is going. You don't have a choice in the matter. You already raised your right hand, so you're going. So there's no real choice in that matter. As far as like PCSing, you do like you said, I think you alluded to earlier about your wish list when you come in to what base you want to go to. I think we are talking in the green room about this. You fill your dream sheet. Sometimes those dream sheets come true. Most times they don't. Because every time I asked for the East Coast, I wound up in Korea. Or I asked for Germany, I wound up in Kansas. So I stopped asking for anything, and I finally started getting things I wanted at the tail end of my career.
No offense, stereotype says it on the internet. People say soldiers are just unthinking robots. Do you
And
agree or disagree?
disagree 100%, especially now. The soldiers now are so smart. My God, they're smart now. I went to my last unit in 2013 to 15 up in Aberdeen, Maryland. This part of the Army's a tech escort unit. And the soldiers there from all ranks were just smart, technically, tactically, strategically. They were smart. And I came from a totally strict tactical unit with the 101st Airborne Division to there. So I was used to a different mindset of soldier. And I got there, and you might want to call them pocket protector kids. They were smart. Every one of them was smart. And it's just evolved. And the infantry guys now are smart. You can't call an infantry guy, they call them grunts forever, but they're smart. They have to be smart in order to fight because there's so much technology that goes into what they're doing now. They have to be smart in order to survive the now modern battlefield. If you look at what's going on in Ukraine and Russia, the battlefield there, everything is technological. These soldiers that we're training, that are getting trained now to go into harm's way if need be, they have to be 3 steps ahead of where those guys are and understand what can happen 3 moves ahead. So if they're playing chess now, where probably when I came in, we're basically playing little kid checkers, and are playing big boy chess.
What do you see the future of the battlefield being? Do you see each soldier running around with a couple of their own drones, or how do you think this is going to play out?
There'll be a lot of unmanned systems out there in the future, both aerial and ground, and each soldier might have I don't think every soldier will have one, but there'll be numbers of unmanned systems that will match the number of soldiers on the ground. But it might be computer based, one person controlling off a computer, many systems. But it's going to be a very digital world.
Yeah. So do you ever see a future, maybe 20, 30 years down the road where the soldier isn't even on the field anymore?
Uh, it could come to that could come to light if you look at the battle between Armenia and Azerbaijan a few years back. Those soldiers never seen each other. Everything was fought from a distance. They would send either unmanned vehicles over or spy birds over, and then just calculate and fire. So those soldiers never seen each other for the whole, well, I think, 2 months of that battle. So that was a preview of what could happen.
Interesting. Um, I think you may have already answered this one, but what was the worst day you ever experienced in uniform, and what was the best?
December 31st, 2010 was the absolute worst day. I think the best day was probably walking across the stage, retiring with my wife and daughter with me, having them with me after the whole time. My wife and me, we met my first 4 months in, got married. Then we had our daughter 3 years later. So it wasn't a shotgun wedding. And we just eloped and got married. And she stayed with me through 22 hard years in the Army. Our daughter was, I think, 18 when I get retired. So seeing them at the end was probably the best day in service, to know that they took that fight with me the whole time. Me and my wife are now married 31 and a half years. So it's still going strong.
Very cool. And so you say you went across a stage. See, when I left, we just weren't there anymore. So what's that about?
It's kind of like I guess you equate it to like a graduation. You're sitting in the audience, and each retiree is called up one at a time with their families to go up, and the general basically shakes your hand, thanks you for your service. And like he asked me, "What are you gonna do now?" I said, "Now I got to find my grown up job." And it was true that day. It's true now. I mean, I found my grown up job now. I love what I do, and just knowing that I was no longer putting a uniform on anymore, but I had my wife and daughter with me the whole time. They're still with me. It was amazing to have them there that day.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. You got the whole full circle, closure, the whole thing to just wrap it up in a bow. Very nice. And so well, then that leads us into you have published some books, such as the 13-Step Guide to Success and Out of Darkness. Why don't you tell us about that?
Well, the 13-step guide to success came from COVID. I would every month I'd write on Facebook. At the end of the month, I'd write something. I was just joking around, really. You made it through this level of Jumanji. You faced these demons, because every month they gave us a new fear factor, something new to be scared of. You made it through these levels of Jumanji. This month you have to deal with this, and I did that for the first, I think, 11 months. And then the 12th month, I just made these 12 steps you need to do to make it through. And my daughter's like, "You need to write that in a book." Just if I go back a year or so, or 4 years before that, actually, she published a book right out of high school called The Unexpected. And I took her on a book tour. That's how me and her really got close back together. So she told me to write this. She was my editor. She edited the book, and they got us even closer. And I published it. And I wasn't looking for sales. I figured I'd get it out to get my name out there. And I get a lot of feedback that is helping people. That's all that matters to me. It helps one person. That's all that mattered. So it's basically a book that had to be a good person, had to be a successful human, had to be a better human, and maybe better your community, help someone have a better day. It's not to be a real wealthy person. It's not to be a businessman, just to be a successful human.
Yeah. And so it isn't aimed at military people. This is a book for anybody.
Anyway,
Okay. Okay, cool. Cool. And then what about Out of Darkness?
After the Darkness is a book I've started and stopped writing many times. And I finally, after I published that one, I said, you know what? Challenge accepted. I live by this mantra, like Barney Stinson, challenge accepted. And it starts off with I guess, the hero of the book. He's sitting on the mountaintop, blood all over him, smelling a battle, and trying to figure out how he got there. And it goes through his battles from when he first started the military, the team he was on, all the fights. Each character is based off 4 or 5 different people I served with, and none of them are me. People ask me this all the time: "Is this you?" I said, none of this is me. It's about other people, and it's basically the journey of the soldier from boots through trauma and back to society, and coming to fruition at the end, and getting that help for PTSD. And then this is Out of the Darkness right here. And
Yes.
both of them are on Amazon. You can pick them up there, or you can go to our website, themisfitnation.com, and under, I think, store or something on there, it says you can find books there. Take it right to Amazon anyway.
I'll make sure to put that in the show notes for people. Is there a specific person that you came across in the military that maybe affected your worldview or your life in the military that you want to talk about?
There's a few actually, if you don't mind. I'll give them all homage here. My first platoon sergeant, Sergeant Humberto Lopez. He took me from a raw city kid to a soldier. He made me into a soldier, and he taught me how to lead. And he was a great man. He's still alive. I haven't talked to him in a while, but he's alive. He's doing good things. But he taught us all, and he treated us all exactly the same. He was hard on every one of us. To leave every day, you had to do 10 pull-ups, 10 dips, 10 push-ups every day. That was even after formation. You had to do that every day to leave to go home. So he taught me a lot of lessons. The next one would be Sergeant Douglas Jones. We were both E5s together, but he was my platoon sergeant because he had time and grade, time and service. And he showed me selfless service. He taught me that. He told me how to be a leader and be selfless. He made sure we all took all those classes like me you were talking about earlier, but he would never took care of himself. So he was pushing all of us. I made staff sergeant. He was still a sergeant. And then I made sergeant first class, and then he made sergeant first class later. But he taught me the selfless service to take care of everyone else and worry about you. And something I learned from that was to tell my guys and girls to make sure while taking care of others, you take care of you as well. Because no one's going to tell you to take care of you. You got to take care of you along the way. And that's the lessons I learned from them too. And then Sergeant Major Harold Reynolds, probably the next one, my Sergeant Major in 2010-11. And right there with First Sergeant David Ward. They were there. They were my rocks when I lost Sergeant Beckerman. And Sergeant Major Reynolds and me still basically text all the time. We work for the same company now. And so does First Sergeant Ward. He works for the same company. So we all kind of talk to each other still pick each other's brains, still mentor up and down the ladder. So it's awesome to have that. And then a Sergeant Major I lost, Sergeant Major Kevin Griffin. He was lost in a suicide bombing in 2012. He taught me a lot in the 3 months I knew him before he was taken from us. But those are the men that really shaped me in my career and from my post-career leadership to show me the best way to treat people, lead people, and be the best human possible.
Awesome. Awesome. How about, would you be willing to share a time that you might have made a big mistake or did something embarrassing in the military?
Big mistake. I got into a huge fight in Korea, and he wound up giving a guy a lot of stitches in the head because he said something about my mom and being immature. He didn't know my mom. It didn't matter, but at that point, it mattered. So I beat him bad, and I felt horrible about it later in life. At that point, I didn't care, but later, as I looked back, saying I was dumb. I could have killed that kid for words, and that's kind of what earlier about the traps. Don't fall into traps, and that was a trap I fell into in Korea, and I regretted it later, and it slowed me a little bit, not a lot. It it hurt me over there in that unit. It hurt me a lot, but I had to make up for it the rest of my career. I had to make sure I kept myself out of dark areas, out of dumb moves, and out of stupid things to get through life.
Yeah. So, all right. So that's a big life lesson. Is there anything else you could think of that you learned in the army that it wasn't in any of your training?
In the army, uh, that it correlates with the training that you go to a lot of training, you think it's stupid. I like when you do training all the time, you think it's so stupid. You're wasting my time, wasting my time. I learned to value training, and this happened in April of 1999. I was in the field. I was supposed to be in the field for the last time here at Fort Campbell before I PCS to Fort Riley, and the helicopter flew over us, and we thought they were messing with us because they were low and they were kind of shaking. The helicopter crashed. There was 11 guys on board. My platoon was the first platoon to get there. My squad and a few other people from the platoon. Then a squad of infantry guys came from the opposite side. We pulled 5 dudes out of the helicopter alive, and all of it was on autopilot. Everything was autopilot. All of us were working on autopilot. We had blood on us. Our clothes were getting ripped by getting to the metal of the bird. We got the 5 guys out alive. Uh, 4 of them lived, 1 of them died. So 7 total died that day. But what I learned that day was no matter how minuscule the training is, it's valuable. Because everything I did that day was stuff I trained on. It was just on autopilot. I didn't realize I retained all that stuff. It just worked. Then years later, I met Dave Sanderson. He was the last guy off the plane when it crashed to the Hudson River, Miracle on the Hudson. You can look him up. Dave Sanderson speaks. And he was telling me a story that the flight attendant was giving him the safety brief. And his mom told him, always pay attention to people when they talk to you. So when she was giving that safety brief, he paid attention to her. And I thought that links right back to a helicopter crash. And it all correlated it. If you listen to when people speak to you, you too will learn something and you'll hear what they say. So that's it.
Definitely learning something today listening to you. All right. How about if you could change anything about the Army being an employer, what might you change?
I think in the point system needs to be relooked at. If you look from the human resources side of it, point system kind of is antiquated. There's got to be better ways to promote people. I know the Air Force does tests, which slows down some people in line because a lot of people can't take tests, but it makes sure that you know your job. On the other side of that, you have to know your job to get promoted. You don't just have to know how to do push-ups. You don't just have to know how to shoot. You have to know your job. So I think we do a combination thereof. You do a written test on your skills, put that in there, make sure the soldier, sailor, airman, marine all know their jobs. That'll help out the promotion process a lot better, and the most deserving will get it.
Yeah. Do you have a hot take about the Army? In other words, something that a lot of people probably would disagree with that are in the Army, that something you believe?
I believe the Army's a great place to work, and I know there's people that hate it, and just like when you were in the Air Force, there's probably dudes that walks around with their heads down all the time, just suck, 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 suck. 'Cause there's gonna be those negative dudes and that's everywhere you go. But I loved being a soldier. I loved everything about it, and even today, as I train soldiers now, I get to see them go back, and when I'm in front of them, it's like I'm just training a younger generation of me, and the younger generation of dudes and dudettes I served with. So I don't see any difference. Just cooler uniforms now, basically. But then when I go out in the field and I see them operate, I think it's our army is still the strongest army in the world. It does a lot of different things, a lot of way better things than they did when I started. It is the best job to have. I think everyone should serve in some aspect, no matter what service it is. And if you can't because of health, serve in your community. But the military, the army, and the hot take on the army definitely is the best job for me and best job I think out there.
Do you think it's the best branch to go into? What do you think about the different branches?
I will always say yes, the army is the best branch, but when I was first joining, I was actually going to the blue door as well. And the blue door moved 45 minutes from my house. So I wasn't going 45 minutes away because I didn't have a car. So I didn't want to go to Marines, which is, I think, 2 doors down. And I said, hey, Army guy, you got me. Let's go. What we got? And that's what we went with.
All right. Um, is it possible maybe on this show right now to teach us something that you learned from the military, like like a skill, to take a few minutes to something how to do that you could impart on us?
I think there's something that everyone in the audience can do every day or every week in their lives is plan. Plan your day. Plan your day to count the good things. And in the army, you know something can go wrong at any time of the day. If especially in combat, they tell you every time there's an operations order that only works until that first bullet gets fired. Then an op order goes out the window. Then you're on that autopilot we were talking about earlier. Retain the trainings you have, but always think 3 steps ahead. And I know that sounds crazy. Think 3 moves ahead of where you are right now. So right now, I'm probably 6 steps from the door to get out of my studio. How do I get there? I got to think 3 steps ahead of where I am now. So if I take 2 steps to my left and then do a beeline, I'm out the door. You have to learn how to beeline out your door. So every day, I want you to start this one thing every day. You wake up in the morning, you make your bed. That's your first good thing you did that day. You're starting to stack victories as you go through your day. And count the things that go well all day long. This sounds juvenile, this sounds childish, but it will help your mindset as you go through life. Every day you can have X amount of wins. You're going to have things go wrong. Every one of us is going to have things go wrong because we are human. We're not robots. Something's going to go bad. Stop, learn from that. Don't dwell on it. Go to the next victory. Find the next thing that's doing good. Today you did 19 things good. Tomorrow try to get 20. And then go that 3 steps ahead. What can I get on Monday? Today's Friday, so Monday. Monday, what can I win on Monday? What are my wins going to be Monday? Because Monday I have to go to work. Got to go. We all got to go back to work Monday, no matter what job you have. Monday, I'm pretty sure you have to go back to work. How many things am I going to get right Monday? How many clients am I going to go out and reach and talk to? How many things am I? How many planes are you going to be able to direct at the tower? How many widgets are you going to build at the factory? How many good things can go for you on Monday? So think those 3 steps ahead and try to do that every day. Think 3 days ahead, and today's successes will be awesome, but those 3 days from now will be amazing.
In a 22-year military career, how would you define success?
One, making it 22 years was a success. It was an amazing success. Not getting kicked out for falling at traps was another success. And learning from that lesson from 1995 in Korea, and that success from learning from that lesson and never letting it bite me in the butt again the rest of my career as I went all the way to 2015. So it's 20 years after that. I made it after that incident without another incident. So that was amazing for me, and use those little bits of success. Each day you're in a new unit, listen to people, learn from them by listening. Actually listen to them. Don't try to answer by wait for them to stop talking just so you can speak. Listen to hear, not to speak in every place you go in life. And you'll find that success in the military. That is key. That is gold. That is that little nugget of gold you'll need to be successful. Listen to hear, not to speak, and you'll understand a lot more.
All right, a little pop culture question. How about the movie Black Hawk Down? Do you have any opinions about it? I know I enjoyed watching it. Would you consider it, was it accurate or not accurate? What's your opinion on that movie?
First off, it was a cinematic gem. I love the movie. As I told you in the green room, I came in active duty in 1993, October 1993 was my first unit, 315th Infantry, and we had this thing called DRF1, Defense Readiness Force 1, and I didn't know what it meant. I was off this kid off the street, and we were DRF1 for that, for what was going on in Mogadishu, and I had no idea what that meant. I didn't know what Somalia even was, and I was getting shots to go. I was putting the chocolate chip uniform to go, and I didn't know what Somalia was, where it was. I didn't, well, not sheer ignorance. I didn't know what it was. But as time went on, a lot of my brothers went. 2 companies from our unit went over to kind of clean up and get everyone out of there. And I read the book by Bowden. Bowden was his name, I think. He wrote the book. Great book. Very historically accurate in the book. Chief Durant's book was also a good book in there as well. From the Night Stalkers. And then the movie came out from Black Hawk Down, and we all went as a unit. A bunch of us from the unit went together. My unit I was in at the time. We sat there and we loved it because the portrayal of the soldiers, showing the dumb stuff they do, like watching the TV shows before, the little theatrics, the comedy skits they were doing, Sergeant Pia doing that stuff. And they were trying to show real life what soldiers do in the downtime. When we were downtimes in Iraq, we would watch DVDs all day long, basically, or just make fun of each other. Kind of the same stuff they were doing in their hangar there. The combat scenes in that, I didn't realize how close to accurate they were until I was in combat in Ramadi. So when you get in combat and you're actually fighting, and then you see how they portrayed it there, it was the chaos. You can almost smell what's in the movie now because now you smell it. So they caught a lot of that stuff pretty good. I know that historically accurate and Hollywood don't go together, so they had to make a little more things a little more over dramatic for the movie to sell because a lot of civilian world need to sell things bigger. But I think the Black Hawk Down, the team behind it did a very good job. And just recently, they just made a documentary on Netflix by some of the guys who survived it. My Chief Durant was on there as well. A few of the Rangers were on there, and one of the Delta operators. They were all on there as well in that documentary talking about not just the movie, but the actual action on the ground. And it all correlates, but it's just a little more dramatic in the movie. But yes, Black Hawk Down was a good movie and put together real well.
Yeah. What do you think about Hurt Locker? Seen that one?
Oh yeah, I do. And my co-host for my Tuesday show, the Tuesday Crew, Jake Holland, he's the EOD guy. So I call him Hurt Locker all the time, and I tell him that's his theme movie, and he will tell you in a heartbeat. There's only one thing accurate about that movie, that there is an EOD team in Iraq. That's what he tells me all the time, but I always call him Hurt Locker anyway.
All right. All right. So now we're on the speed round. Basically, I'll read you some. You tell me you're a fan of it, not a fan of it, and why. Okay. First off, PT belts.
Ridiculous. No, hate them. They're over. I guess there's extra redundancy to us. Our uniforms are reflective as well, so you don't need a PT belt. And when all the roads are closed and your uniform's reflective,
All right. The MRE beef stew.
disgusting. It was like congealed stuff in there. I would just eat like the snacks that came with like the crackers and jelly probably.
Um, is this real? Mandatory fun days.
Oh yeah, mandatory
Okay.
fun days. You do fun days. I was a fan of them because you didn't have to do real work. You went and just had basically fun, do sports and stuff, or I guess family days they'd have where the kids would come on base and get to show them what you do. Mandatory to do. So most times there were good times to have and good breaks in the crazy op tempo you were on.
Yeah. Okay. Uh, 0400 wake ups. That happen often.
'Cause you get used to them after a while. And I still wake up at 04 now. After 10 years out, I still wake up 04. I don't know if I'm a fan or my body just says that's what time I gotta get up now. And
Yeah.
so I'm up all the time at that time. So I guess I'm neutral on that.
All right. The green weenie.
Oh man. Not a fan of the green weenie. I don't think anyone's in the military is a fan of the green weenie because it usually means something bad has just happened to you or something bad is happening to you, like you're getting put on a detail, you're getting put on a bad assignment or something like that. You don't want the green.
Okay. Sergeant major of the army.
Depends on how you look at it from that aspect. Each one has their own nuances. We had a couple good ones when I was in. Sergeant Major Kid wasn't bad. He was a good guy. Uh, I think now a lot of people didn't like the last one. They liked the current one. The special operations guy who's in now, he's doing a lot more common sense approach now, and that hurts some people's feelings. I think he's doing a good job. He's bringing morale back, recruitment's up, reenlistment's up, so he must be doing something right.
All right. How about field grade Article 15?
Not a fan. I had one. I wouldn't recommend it for anybody.
And what does it mean?
It's a non-judicial punishment. So you have a company grade, which is your company commander, captain. He'll then put his punishment on you at his level. Field grade is your battalion commander, so lieutenant colonel. He does the field grade justice system, and it stays in your non-performance area, so you don't go to jail for it or anything like that. But you do lose. You could lose rank. You could lose money. You do extra duty. Extra duty means you have to work after everyone's off duty and complete assignments that the sergeant major gives you every day for up to 45 days. And you're usually restricted to your place of work or home for that amount of time as well. So I'm not a fan of it, but I did go through that in 95.
So this must be related to I had heard before that when you're in the army, it's I heard that it's easier to gain rank, but also easy to lose rank. Is that so plays into this here?
It's a fair statement, yes. They
Okay.
used to say when you go to Korea, the best way to leave Korea as a specialist E4 is to go there as an E5.
I get that joke. All right.
Yeah.
Uh, what about DFAC eggs to order?
Also depends on where you are. So on the Air Force Base, amazing because they actually do what you order. Some Army bases, amazing. I had some real good cook friends in my life. I still do now. Josh Perry, Amy Davis, great people, and they would make it great eggs. And then there's some people that just didn't care what they were doing behind there on the flat rack, and you usually paid the price for it. So you got to be careful. But yes, I am a fan of them.
When I was in the Air Force, I was surprised to see that the chef, I guess you'd call them, was a guy I went to high school with. And I hadn't seen him since high school, but he was in charge of the whole thing, making the eggs and what have you. And he had all these Filipino women they worked there somehow as his assistant. He's just yelling at them, "Go get it!" And they're running around and getting eggs, whatever. Okay, 2 mile run.
I loved it. I didn't know I liked running until I got in the Army, and I was actually pretty good at 2 mile run. Did really well. And, even after I got wounded, I was still able to run pretty well after I let the stuff almost heal, not really heal right, but I was still a good runner.
How
I
often did
loved
you?
to
How often were you supposed to run 2 miles?
You have to do 2 miles for your PT test, your physical training test, every 6 months, but you usually run at least 2 for PT at least 3 times a week.
Oh, okay. Okay. Very good. All right. Well, that's it. That's the end of the speed run. All right. Excellent. Third down. Fantastic. All right. Final question. Here we go. What is a secret that most people don't know about an Army career?
We had this earlier, the paycheck for life, and you gain so much knowledge. Your network grows so exponentially from just whatever you had at home. You kind of lose the high school kids high school friends, because you all go different directions. You're young kids, you're in high school, but you leave there, now you have a whole new family in the military. 20 plus years, 4 years in the Air Force, 4 years in the Army, you're going to wind up with a lot more friends, a lot more family. So you build the brotherhood, sisterhood. That's the secret of the military. You wind up with this giant family. So now you can go anywhere in this country and probably run into somebody or some place that you knew someone from around this country, which is pretty awesome, because you all almost have an atlas now in your Rolodex or in your phone contact list. Now you almost have an atlas.
Yeah. Very, very cool. All right, Rich. I'm really glad you came on Tales from the Shift.
Appreciate this opportunity. Thank you.
All right. And then MisFitNation. Check it out.
Definitely.